Hi, everybody. It's Laura Eisenhower. I am really excited to be here with 𝗤𝘂𝘃𝗏 and Harlan Emil Gruber, who are really amazing individuals. They have so much to offer and so much to share. We did a previous interview that I took down because I took down most of my content because I lost my channel for a while. And I'm sure some of you became familiar with them through that and their own platforms. And we're just going to really dive into the amazing things that they're creating and manifesting on this planet. And it's so important to stay in touch with the antidotes and to stay inspired. And you guys are really, really bringing it in. And it's wonderful to be here with you. So maybe we can just kind of go around and you guys can share some words about yourself and a bit about, your path or journey. And then we'll talk about what new projects and things you have in the works. So how about we start with you, Z?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Laura. It's always so nice to be here with you. You're such a wonderful being, and all of this community is probably really excited for this conversation because I know that there's a lot of stuff out there right now about disclosure and all the things that are happening on the planet and the reptilian bases or whatever the heck. And I'm just really excited to talk about the deepest levels of our mission that we can today. My work is about lucidity. So I am an embodied starseed. I remember my being from the seventh density and beyond, where I was a geneticist. And for my skills as a geneticist, I was called into the starseed missions. And so I supported a lot of starseeds in crafting strands of DNA that carries their memories and their soul fragments and their skills to the earth. So if you recognize my face or my voice or my energy, it's probably because we worked upstairs before coming here. I probably helped you prepare your files and prepare your aura so that you can arrive on the earth with these things intact and be ready for your mission. And so here down on the earth, I'm basically offering the same kind of support. I help starseeds remember and access their higher dimensional selves and turn those genetic strands that we created together that you brought here online so that you can remember your skills and etc. Um, and so, yeah, I think that is enough of an introduction for now, and I'm
Oh, awesome.
excited to go into that.
Oh, that's so cool. And we'll hear an intro and a few words about you, Harlan. And then we are going to start with sound healing. And then Harlan is going to share a video trailer about the projects that he's doing. And we'll introduce that. So, Harlan, a few words about you, and then we'll go back to you.
Okay, thank you, Laura. So glad to be here. And so I suppose one of the things that you failed to mention, Z, in your introduction of being from the seventh dimension is that you're from Andromeda. And I was told in a reading with Lisa Renee a while back that I'm Andromedan. So when Z and I connected, it was like, you're from Andromeda, I'm from Andromeda. And I consider, the Andromedan commander that's finally shown up. But I've been here a bit longer working on this work. And so it's kind of this combination of this, all my studies and visions of how we as humans can inhabit the earth in a more appropriate, sacred, beautiful way. But a lot of that has to do with then embodying, the fact of what it truly means to be a human. And, with this evolution or ascension that's taking place at this time of, awakening to our higher dimensional self, our 12 dimensional or 12 strand DNA, and the integration of all of that. And so in, doing the work, like, especially with, I've been following Laura for quite a long time and all the amazing information she brings forth, it dovetails in perfectly with, everything I've been envisioning and wanting to help people bring forth of this, beautiful sacred new earth that we could all build. So that's what, we're going to be diving into a bit here with us, portal to the new earth. But I'm really excited that we'll have Z then kind of kick off our presentation today by doing a little bit of a oracular sound healing meditation to set the tone, to bring us all into our bodies and ready for this journey we're going to embark on in the next hour or so. So thanks.
Oh, sweet. Awesome. Okay, so take it away, Z.
All right, so I just really like to start these community online transmissions with some sound healing because when a bunch of people are gathering, there can be a lot of energy. And so I like to just get really grounded and really centered and just focus on the good things that we're focusing on together. And so, yeah, just relax, and we're here to exist and love together. And here we go. Can't hear anything. It's on. Dang it.
Take two.
Can you hear it on the other side or no?
Yep.
You can?
Yes, we heard.
You hear the loop or no?
No, not the loop, just your first track. That's why I said take two. Uh-oh. Try again.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Oh, here we go.
Uh-oh, nothing.
You know, the energies are just so like weird, and some of the interferences, but
I know. I felt it today. I was like,
should we maybe go into it towards the end? Or do you want to
Yeah,
try
we can-
it one more time?
I'll figure out my stuff. You guys go and continue.
It's really powerful. So I really know it's going to come through. I heard her live in Ventura, California at Dimensions of Disclosure. And man, it really shifted the energy. And you have an incredible gift with your voice.
And of course, and of course, for people watching this and want to access that, she has so many incredible videos on her YouTube channel that include lots of that. So well, we gave it a shot. I wonder if I should just do a little guided meditation to help ground us, or just dive into my work. I don't know what the best flow is for us here.
It's a really amazing little video clip you have, and
All right.
want to
So
share
we'll
some
just-
words beforehand that has a meditative quality to it. Just take it away. It's all yours, you guys. And if I turn my camera off, it's not that I'm not here. It's just sometimes there's animals and kids and stuff in the background. I don't want anybody to be distracted. But yeah, take it away, Harlan, and then we'll get back to you, Z, and we'll talk about your projects.
Okay, well, that's good, because this is a really good, quick intro overview of what we're going to be talking a bit about coming up through this whole thing. So I'm going to share the screen on this video that gives an introduction to what Portal to the New Earth is all about. My name is 𝗠𝘂𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆 festivals around the world, starting with the 1111 Diamond Portal. I've gone on to build many more of these portal installations that all contain the quasar wave transducer, a device I invented that creates subtle low-frequency purring vibrations in the range of human brainwaves and the Earth's Schumann resonance. These sounds also signify that the geometries used in these designs are vibrational energy patterns. The intention of these portal installations is to facilitate an evolution of consciousness in the participants so that they will awaken to the fact that everything in the world is sacred and choose to live accordingly. I have been doing presentations on the portal installations that go into detail explaining the three-dimensional geometries that are utilized in their design, as well as a general understanding of how three-dimensional geometry relates to the evolution of consciousness. The original inspiration for this work comes from one of my life's biggest influences, the geodesic dome inventor and comprehensive design scientist 𝗟R𝘂𝗏 Fuller. His vision is, quote, to make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without ecological offense or the disadvantage of anyone. I'm also inspired by the Italian architect Paolo Solari's book, Arcology, City in the Image of Man, that depicts his visions of ecologically integrated three-dimensional megastructure cities. I have gone on to study how humanity can inhabit the Earth in the most beautiful and sustainable way, such as Bruno Taut's crystalline cities on mountaintops conceived in 1919, Glenn Small's massive biomorphic biosphere from the late 60s, and contemporary bioarchitect Vincent Calabet's concepts such as this bridge built using 3D printing aerial drones. I have combined all of these studies into my own design for an arcology called the 12-Spiral City that consists of spiraling ramps wide enough to contain all of the buildings, streets, and gardens that are built upwards over time. I'm now developing a technique called Teraquaforming, integrating land and water into human-built environments in a regenerative and life-enhancing way. Examples of this are the ancient rice terraces of Asia and man-made lakes, but Teraquaforming goes a step further by integrating everything from the scientific to the spiritual nature of reality to create a world of divine harmony and sacred beauty to benefit not only humanity, but all life and the earth itself. I invite anyone inspired by this to collaborate on its development. All right, so that in a nutshell is what this project's about. So if people are watching this and feel inspired and want to collaborate, that's the idea, is to the more of us together that are sharing this vision of the new earth. And before we can build this beautiful, sacred, harmonious new earth, it kind of has to be dreamed into being or thought about. So that's the step, the process that I'm in right now, is to get people inspired to see what's possible. We can all start to have these visions, and then we're actually going to do it. So
brilliant. Incredible that, this is your life's work. It's so easy to just get so dragged down by the difficult energies and news and realities. But your understanding of the full capacity of our DNA and our true human potential and the power of the human spirit, and how that manifests into living structures and forms that can help to ground it and anchor it into the physical plane, is really what this is all about, because we can't just drift off into our higher self. We need to make it a way of life. And these structures are representations of these higher frequencies and aspects. Wouldn't you say so? Can you talk to us a little bit about that? And I don't know where you went.
Exactly. It's like, the way that humanity is inhabiting the earth right now in the very conventional Western colonized culture of domination and very 3D mechanistic worldview, it's kind of a reflection of the our social political lockdown consciousness that we're all been locked into. And as we're now recognizing that we are much more than that, and connecting to this consciousness and awakening to our higher multidimensional selves. And clearly, Laura, you talk a lot about these issues of, let's call them the controllers. Lisa Renee likes to just abbreviated NAAA, the negative alien agenda. And it's important that we acknowledge and know about it, but it's not like, in my vision and stuff, it's like, yes, and I remember a year or so ago, Magenta Pixie, she gave a great 3-step thing. First, you have to acknowledge that that's what's going on. And then you just say, I don't consent. And then the third step, which is the hardest and most important and the wackiest one, is you have to love them for it, but love them and just say, go away, leave us alone. And my focus is, not so much dealing with that whole negative agenda, but just starting to dream and envision and putting all our time and focus and energy into this new earth where we regard everything as sacred. Water, what could be more sacred than water? All of our water should be flowing in the most pristine, energized streams everywhere in our environments. And just minerals and that we use, and the trees and the stones, everything that humans touch, recognizing as part of ourselves, this beautiful planet that we're on. Once we become embodied and awakened to our higher multidimensional self, we'll start to choose and build in a way that is beyond our imaginations, but at least we can start imagining it. And a lot of us are. And the more we do that, the more we put our time and energy into this positive vision of the future. And, I guess it's a good time to just, people are probably wondering, what is that crazy graphic behind me instead of the room that I'm sitting in? So I put that up, and this is a representation of one of the arcologies. As you saw mentioned in the short intro video, I talked about this book by Paolo Solari, which came out in 1969 on MIT Press. So it's got some, credo behind it. And it was called Arcology, which means architecture and ecology, and city in the image of man. And what he was proposing is that cities actually grow like living organisms. So this is a concept I came up of in arcology. And it's just a very, very crude 3D rendering showing these buildings behind me and trees on their rooftops. But as you see in the distance, they're actually these giant spiraling ramps that have all the streets and cities on it. And this was just knocked out by a 3D rendering friend of mine to kind of get the form of the whole city so you could see what it would look like looking out, and you could see down to the lower levels and up to the higher levels. But the reality of this is that this would grow. We would be building this like a living organism, and it would look way more organic. The houses would be all handmade, beautiful variety of any architecture anyone can dream of, and be built using beautiful natural materials, long lasting. So we start to build these cities as like living organisms, and that's the direction that I'm seeing that we will go as living in the planet. And it's a 3D city that grows up over time, so it leaves the surrounding area wild and much easier to access nature all around you. So that's just one of the concepts, but but it's an overarching concept of any way of building. So this is a giant megastructure city, but that's not all I'm thinking. It's not like I just want to build this. I see the impracticality of something like this, but just the way we design our villages, the way we go into a landscape and start to inhabit it. So that's the other aspect that I look at. And so a lot of this has to do with this upcoming book that's getting so close to being done. And it has all this information in it. The book is titled Portal to the New Earth, so it'll be out as soon as possible. It's been in the works for the past few years. So any more? We lost Z. I'm sure she'll hopefully log back in at some point.
I hope so.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's really wild. And when I think about the dark weaponry and the way cities are constructed and sort of this separation from nature, more kind of a matrix living mentality, which is based in reversals and manipulations of sacred geometries, is pretty wild because, once we overcome the mind control aspect of it all, and we can begin to think for ourselves, our intuition and our higher mind has all sorts of things to tap into in order to build like a new earth energy. If people could just break the mind control and reconnect with their divine calling, the innovativeness and inventiveness of individuals could work wonders. And so it's really cool how you're taking this leadership role and that you answered your calling and you have just really stayed dedicated and devoted to doing what you're doing. And this is the kind of exposure we need to give our children. I mean, when you see the world that we're in right now, the dark agenda really being way more obvious and in our face, even though not everybody understands it. I mean, what are you kind of feeling? How are you processing things? And what are your thoughts about the impact it's having on our children? Because people like you should be teachers, and because you have to activate starseed missions in other children. But yeah, I mean, I guess the question is, how are you processing things right now? And
yeah, I know where things have been a lot of turmoil, and personally, yeah, it's a rocky road for me because the type of work I do is not like commercially viable at this point. I'm not being fully embraced. But I want to just go back to a point you just made before you asked that question, which is it kind of really all boils down to the underlying consciousness that we have. And, right now, consciousness is kind of being locked down and limited to a very, simplistic 3D, the Muggle mindset that we have of driving to the mall, buying your stuff, consumerism, the suburban sprawl. And so what I've been doing, and like this book is actually, titled Portal to the New Earth, sound, sacred geometry, and grid energies for personal and planetary transformation. So the way that I've been approaching this, even though I've been studying and interested in these future cities my whole life, ever since I learned about Buckminster Fuller, first in when I was 20 years old, back in 1979 with his Synergetics, and then Paolo Solari's book I also learned about way back then. But I haven't been fully devoted to thinking about these cities and these designs. What I've been doing for the past 15 years are creating these interactive installations that I started to bring to Burning Man and then bring to other festivals around the world, and sometimes set up in public event spaces that utilize sound and sacred geometry for people to come together in with the intention to help facilitate this evolution of consciousness. Because it's really, this all boils down to the awakening of a new consciousness in humanity. One partly that is free from this, control paradigm, but it's also just, awakening to our multidimensional selves, awakening our 12-strand DNA. And with this new level of consciousness that's coming about, we'll make these choices then to start to build these more beautiful and harmonious and sacred environments. So the first step, though, is awakening, to this consciousness shift that's taking place. And, it's kind of like, it's what's been talked about a lot. It's like both the earth is shifting its consciousness vibration and all of humanity. This ascension or consciousness shift is a mutual thing. And like in the designs of these portal installations, I work a lot with these geometries that relate to the Earth's vibrational energy and the evolution of the Earth's vibrational energy. So there are spaces that then you go inside of, and I call them multidimensional vibrational energy body alignment tools. It's a long description of it, but that's how I've been spending a lot of my time and energy in creating these very simple environments that can be loaded up and driven to different festivals and set up. But now at this time, it's like it kind of feels like it's go time, and we really need to be putting our energy now into actually thinking about and ultimately starting to actually build what we want to be building. It should have been done a long time ago, I guess, but we're getting to it, and yeah.
Well, I mean, to me, I mean, that's how to be on an ascension timeline, is to make sure it's a way of life and that the structures that we occupy are in tune with our vibration, because everything is really geared towards creating digression, blockages, stress, frustration, survival response, survival chakra, kind of fight or flight. And it's embedded in our culture. And also, just like the entertainment industry has subliminal messages and all sorts of, things hiding behind the scenes that have a lot of darkness to it. It makes it very, very difficult to evolve. It's not just, are we enlightened or not? It's what about our environment? I mean, we could be enlightened, we could be very spiritual, but if we're not in an environment that supports it, it's very hard to maintain without, feeling on edge or just, frustrated. Or so to me, this is so incredibly important. And that is, very much how our, work connects, because I'm, obviously all about this and understanding our DNA and the planetary grid network. So say a person has land and they're like, okay, I want to structure like what Harlan's creating. Are you in a position right now to be able to say, hey, I can be sort of a freelance consultant and builder or architect for maybe a land project? Like, I'm getting land. So if I'm like, hey, Harlan, I really want some of your designs, is that, are you ready for that?
I've always been working on that. I'm always asked that, and I do it a little bit. Every now and then I've made a piece here or there like that, but it's not full tilt. And I do have these ideas to make them much more marketable, much more accessible. Actually, this friend of mine has a new huge space down in Venice Beach on 𝗵𝗂𝗧, and he's called me up. He says, you've got to bring your portals here. We're going to set it up, and the people living in LA, with the money, they come here, and they're going to want to buy it. So yes, it's definitely something I'm thinking about and addressing, but it's not like full tilt, like, yeah, sure, just call me up and I'm ready to go and do it. But there is the possibility, and things like that have happened a little bit. So that's a good question. But with that in mind, I guess this is a good segue, though, into why I started building all of these was because of going to Burning Man. And I've been bringing these to Burning Man for 15 years, and there's been an evolution in each step of each of these new portal installations. And so for 2020, right before we got locked down, I actually collaborated with this amazing woman from South Africa named 𝗟𝗂𝗏 that works with channeling the Elohim in her work and helping facilitate healing for individuals. And she even went out to Burning Man. She was guided by her higher guides to go there. She didn't actually like it there or want to go, but she was doing this work to help heal the timelines. So, and that was 2019. So for 2020, we got together and I said, hey, we should work together. I can build an installation based on your information, and then you'll have a place to do your work at Burning Man, because they fit perfectly together. And so we came up with this project called the Interdimensional Space-Time Portal, which she named through the information she was channeling through her guides, the Elohim, to facilitate a space that will help heal the timelines. And so we're, Burning Man 2020 didn't happen, 2021 didn't happen, but we did get some funding, not enough to do it. So we're going to be working now on funding it and bringing it there for next year. And then this piece after Burning Man, I live out in Joshua Tree, so we have a place up near the Integratron in Landers that hopefully will be then set up and people will be able to come and access it long term. So, and then, they're, like you said too, if they want one on their property, it could be possible to build this or others. But I'm going to screen share real quick this, let's see how this looks. This image, it's two arches with symbols on them and a ring. And
well, it looks like Chichen Itza.
Right? And then, and very much so, except for this is a 12-step pyramid. It's the exact angle of the Chichen Itza pyramid, though. But as Maria saw, Chichen Itza only has 9 steps. This one has 12 steps. And of course, it's very small. I did want to build it pretty big at first, but it would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's scaled back to 16 feet high, 32 feet across, with this 20-foot pyramid that you still could hold about a dozen or more people. If you crammed in there, probably 20 people could fit inside. But comfortably, there'll be a space inside. And then she uses her voice to channel these codes of creation to facilitate these healings. And then all of the symbols are symbols that she's channeled that will be down, surrounding these rings. And there's an explanation on the website for this. I don't need to go in and explain all of it because it's kind of complicated, but just in general, the fact that these arches symbolize these rings, and it's a way, it's a physical embodiment of, this higher dimensional information that will facilitate this healing of the timelines, healing of the consciousness, facilitating, so we can get out of the control paradigm and into our divine sovereign consciousness. And let's see, I want to go show you, I was going to hold it up to the camera, but it'll be much better to show you. It'll take a second. Let's see, do I stop the share? Because I don't know what it's showing. We've developed these pendants of it. And so the pendants we're just now launching, and I'm looking away to find, how can I find seamlessly, take me just a moment. I should have had it queued up. The pendants. Here they are. I guess I'll just.
Can I ask a question while you're doing
Yeah,
it?
yeah, and it's coming right up, but go ahead.
With what you know of healing technology, do you feel some of this can mitigate the damages from some of the stuff that is being put into our bodies? And I have to be very careful with the words that I choose to share, but I think you know what I mean. Do you
Yeah,
feel
well,
that things can be corrected?
I follow that closely. And, I think the answer to that question, and a lot of people talk about it, is ultimately, we have to know that we create our reality through our consciousness. And so any of these physical things that are taking place that are very nefarious can be overcome. We're divine sovereign beings. It's consciousness. We can, and so someone was talking about how, I think it was 𝗔𝗂𝗀, quantum truths, that maybe it was someone else, that these things can be reversed, the physicality of the nefarious implementation taking place. If you did it because it was like just a necessary evil and you didn't really want to, then yes. But if, it has more to do with the way we think about things. And that's something that's kind of overlooked a lot. And so if you know in your heart and you know that you're doing the right thing and you're aligned with your divine sovereignty, I think, yes, all of those things can be overcome. So here I'm sharing the screen. This is this beautiful sterling silver pendant of the interdimensional space-time portal. Let's see if I can jump to the bronze one. There it is in bronze.
Wow.
So there'll be different price levels. We're going to be offering these, but these do embody the same kind of property that the full-size one does. I've had someone recently I met, I'm wearing one right here, and they put it in their hand and they held it, and they're like, oh yeah, I can feel what this is intended to do. So, it's both, it's both a way to support making this thing accessible as a full-size one, but you'll get the benefit directly. So they are available through my website. I guess we'll put that information, in the links in the info with this video, so it'll be easy to jump in and order these. They'll take a little while to get produced, but they are, prototyped already and ready to go into production. And so that's one of the big things on my table right now, is to get this new interdimensional space-time portal built for next year and share it as one of these keys to helping facilitate this evolution of consciousness taking place. And that's, kind of been most of my focus, because this is the type of thing I can do. I can't go out and buy some land and build a giant 12-spiral city all by myself, but I can go buy the materials and build this, interactive portal installation and, bring it to events. And so that has been and is the focus still right now. And like I said, of course, getting this book, which it's in the works, so close. It's looking great. It's going to be really exciting for when we finally do another interview down the line with me holding up the book and saying it's available.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. So what kind of kid were you? I mean, were you a good student? Were people picking up on sort of this kind of genius, just beyond this, beyond the box kind of energy? Or like, what are your parents similar to you? Were you a black sheep? I mean, like, can you just give us a little taste of what you were like as a child?
Thanks,
And how people responded to you and your intelligence.
Yeah. And even though I'm not that young anymore, I still a lot like I am as a kid, still kind of living as a teenager rather than, a normal 3D adult of our current culture. But so, great question. Thanks for asking it. And, as a kid, I definitely was a little bit of oddball, definitely black sheep of the family. They're, much more normal, conservative family. And it's always been a little strange. And even as a, young adolescent, which was during like the whole hippie flower power movement, I was attracted to that whole psychedelic. And then as I did, go off to college and become a young adult, I was fully at that time. So this was like mid 70s. And I read Robert Anton Wilson's the Illuminatus trilogy, as it was written in the mid 70s. It was a fresh new book, and then his follow-up to it. So if you don't know this, you want to look up Robert Anton Wilson. He wrote it with a co-author, Dick Shea, but Illuminatus trilogy, which was supposed to be fiction, but it's pretty much what's kind of going on. But then he did a follow-up book, which was nonfiction, called The Cosmic Trigger. I read this, I'm like 17, 18 years old, and I resonated 100%. And this book has everything in it, from like, the Sirius star connection to ancient Egypt to, all the esoteric teachings from Aleister Crowley to, Chinese, the I Ching. It's a complete smorgasbord of the entire metaphysical gamut, as I said. And a lot of it was based on Timothy Leary's work and his exploration, and put it into better words in Timothy Leary, because he was talking a lot about this evolution of consciousness and all the stages of consciousness that we're going through, and that we're at this shifting point, awakening to like a more cosmic consciousness, thus The Cosmic Trigger, the name of the book. So, that was back in, like I said, 1977, 78, when the book had just came out. I was around, like I told you, my teenager, just off to college. So I've been kind of on this path my entire life. And not like a lot of people that it took till 2012 that they broke out of their 3D paradigm and woke up to all this. Yeah. So, and then what's really interesting in retrospect is that diamond portal, the first big portal I built for Burning Man, I actually designed that in 1984 when I was in my 20s while I was studying about golden ratio and studying design at Parsons. And it was 20 years later, I'm going to Burning Man. I'm like, I know, I'm going to build that big structure for Burning Man. And then I was like, what was I doing at that time besides studying at Parsons? Well, I read a book called The Starseed Transmissions by Ken Carey, full-on Pleiadian channel transmission about this awakening of consciousness. And I get a sense that, rather than go back to sharing screen, I just can hold up. Oh, wait, I have to take that off. That's kind of cool how that works.
That's really cool.
Diamond portal. Look at that. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So there it is. I'll hold it up in front of me. Right, and it's all heart-based. This circle actually makes a heart. I can hold it right over my heart, and it's all golden ratio. So this, I get a sense, I can't say definitively, but intuitively, this is Pleiadian channel technology that kind of came through, and then I decided to build it. Now, I guess our interview has been like a little haphazard. We lost Z, we're just going at it, and not sure. I haven't shared this story publicly, but I think this is the time to do it. And I think I'm going to have to, let's see, I can do it in here, in my computer. I'm going to find a story about the diamond about the diamond portal. And let's see if this comes up.
So just an update, everybody. I texted with Z, and it looks like she's just having tech issues. We're going to do a one-on-one next week, and but glad that she was able to introduce herself. So you have that to look forward to. I had some tech issues, and now my tech issues just miraculously just got solved. It's just weird. That's just the way it is.
Right. Oh, and you know, that's okay. And you know, people can go back. It's off your channel. You don't need to upload it, but I'm developing my YouTube channel. So our interview from last April is available on that. So if you really piqued your interest and you want to hear more about the connection I have with Z, because it's really cool. And I love working with Z. And I guess, you know, I'm going to tell this story. We have some time. We can go through a few stories. So this will be an interesting collection of stories. So first, I'm going to share this story about the diamond portal at Burning Man in 2004 that came up earlier this year. Pretty interesting story. So you're going to like this. And then we'll go into, you know, a brief story, maybe if we remember, of my connection with Z, because that's pretty cool. But even she's not here today, we could just talk a little bit about why she was at least here at the beginning. And then you'll see this and you'll be like, oh my God, I've got to come back. And you know what? I'm really excited that you and Z are going to do a one-on-one, because that'll have a different flavor and energy than, you know, me and Z together. So I'm excited about that. So here it goes. I'm gonna share the screen in just a moment while I tell this story about the very first portal I brought to Burning Man that I just explained was some form of Pleiadian technology. So Burning Man's laid out like a clock, and all the city is between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. And then between, or I should say 2 o'clock and 10 o'clock. In 6 o'clock's the center camp, and there's a big open area between 10 and 2 that just goes out to the deep playa. Just huge open space. You can go miles away from the city and look back. So I decided that I would make this piece called the Diamond Portal and place it at 11:11. And of course, yesterday was 11:11. There's a lot about 11:11 being this awakening, activation, galactivation code, seeing that. And I knew that if I placed this portal at 11:11 to utilize that on the layout of Burning Man, it would you know, be part of its intention to being this key for shifting the earth into the next dimension. And so I'm going to skirt some of the details to make the story concise. But I get to Burning Man, some people I didn't know placed me, and I'm like, I don't think this is at 11:11. I think they put me off from 11:11. Then I started to think, like, you know, maybe those people were deep state covert operatives that infiltrated Burning Man, knew that the portal would be this key, and they couldn't let that happen, so they moved it off from there. So I'm getting this sense while I'm there that they're watching me, that they know what this is like, that I'm being followed by deep state operatives that want to know what's going on with it. So I thought that I would try to escape from them and hitchhike a ride on an art car out to my portal. So I flag down this car, I get on it, we go out there, and I decide to take a picture of the guy whose art car it is. And I didn't know this at the time. This is in 2004. And so let's see, here it is. I'll share the picture. And what happened is, this friend of mine goes through all of my books that never been to Burning Man. He was a friend of a friend. He's looking at all the photos and he's like, hey, look at this photo. Do you see who this is in front of your diamond portal? And so it's Elon Musk. I flagged down Elon Musk, and he was the person that gave me a ride out to the diamond portal. So talk about deep state operatives. You know, there's a lot of question about him, but I just thought it's a pretty funny story that I just learned about that this year, that's what I was doing, is why I met him. And it's kind of funny how he's wearing that t-shirt and stuff. So that's the tip of the iceberg.
I don't know what to think of that guy sometimes.
No, well, and then actually I'm going to stop the share, but yeah, generally, I mean, he's building rockets using 3D explosive technology. We know that there's anti-gravity and free energy. We know that beings, and we're able to move through time and space, you know, using much more advanced, higher dimensional and, you know, energy free things. And he's fully embracing the 3D paradigm. Clearly, he's, you know, part of this paradigm to keep us locked into the mechanical control paradigm. As much as he's doing wonderful stuff with Tesla and things that seem to be very positive, future oriented. And, you know, that has a lot to do with the fact that, you know, a lot of this shift taking place is being co-opted. and it's hard to discern then. I mean, people say that about you all the time, Laura. You suffer the brunt of that. And many of the people in this whole phase of, trying to bring truth and light to the darkness are then being accused of being the co-opted ones. And then the people who are actually co-opted, they're the ones people think are real. We're never going to know, almost. So, right, exactly. I mean,
it really is insane.
Do a whole show just on that aspect alone, right?
The inability for people to have an intuition just like really blows my mind. I mean, I try to avoid reading the comments, but I like to interact with the more positive people. But when you run across, a troll comment, it's like, I mean, it's not like I'm going to fill out the butt hurt form, like submit it to somebody to help me deal with the. But I mean, I just have to laugh at this. How many times I've been called transgender and I'm all about the divine feminine, but yet I'm a man. It's just like, are you freaking kidding me? That must have been really good surgery to be able to birth twins. And I don't know, who had the money to pay for that operation? Anyway, I'm sorry. I just had to laugh at that, but you're totally, and it's just amazing to me. I mean, wouldn't you agree that, okay, when we look at like UFOs or starships, it's very connected to the consciousness of the one that's piloting it. And that what you're doing is sort of bridging into where the vehicle in which we inhabit is connected to our consciousness. And so the co-opting is not going to make that possible, because at the end of the day, aren't we the most advanced technology? And as long as we forget what our true potential is, we'll deal with these false narratives and false solutions that are bringing us into the AI transhumanism, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I said, this is great that we've segued into this whole approach of, it's like a meta approach of what we're both dealing with in trying to discern the truth and how we're getting to where we're going. I have this point I want to make, and it's so convoluted. I've lost my track. Oh my God.
I mean, isn't the English language limited? I mean, it's almost designed. I mean, that's why I have a hard time communicating.
Okay, this is kind of the track. That's why I couldn't even talk, because it's not a mind-based, word-based thing. But the best one of the ways to say it is like to trust your heart. And I've been accused in all this, what we're going through right now, and in trusting your heart, like you can't trust your heart, you have to trust science and your mind. But it's kind of our minds that are being mind controlled right now. And a lot of people, a lot of the most intelligent people that we trust with science right now, it's not really that trustworthy. There's a lot of manipulation on that level. So then if we go into our hearts and connect through the heart, and that's, not something that's rational, not something that's easy to talk about and put into words, but, you can feel that, you can discern on that level and what is true and not true to get us, to where we want to go.
Right. But then there's like, heart math and things like that. So trusting the science, why would we want to trust a science that taught us that we have junk DNA when it's the greatest treasure that we could discover? What is there to trust about science just because a bunch of scientists? Mengele was a scientist or a doctor. It's like, I mean, and I love that you're saying that, because it's the integration of body, mind, spirit, which is a whole other level of science, which really brings in human potential instead of limiting science that people are giving their power away to because some a-hole freaking indoctrinating cabal member disguised as a teacher told you to trust the science. I'm floored, honestly. I mean, I've been bringing up the NWO and, sharing warnings over the years, but it's a whole other thing to just be like in it. I thought it wouldn't be, I thought we wouldn't get, it wouldn't get this bad.
This is a great segue because, of course, I love following pretty much everything you do. And you've been on some panels with someone I've been following since I learned about him in 2002, Dan Winter. Talk about science, but talk about a scientist that understands the really big picture. Exactly. I mean, he could be a little bit difficult to listen to. His videos can go on and on, although he did just release on his own a few very short videos. When I say short, 30 to 40 minutes, because most of his videos are 2 hours long and extremely dense and hard to understand. But like I say, I've been following his work since 2002 when I met him in person, went to some workshops, and he's so brilliant, and he really is talking about science from this new awakened dimension of consciousness. And And then one of the things earlier on you were talking about, because in part of his scientific understanding, he does talk about how we build our built environments, and our architecture will be a reflection of this comprehensive scientific understanding of that he's bringing to light. That he's even talking about like the science of how we become conscious and living beings, things that science never touches. If you go to a normal, university, you're not going to talk about how you could actually what life is and how consciousness arises, but his science is that comprehensive. So just, to throw out Dan Winter, we can't go too far down the rabbit hole and start talking like him, but now that you heard it here, there's plenty that you can explore through him. And it really is the fact that science, and then, I guess it's a good segue though, because I've also been following since about 2005, the work of Nassim Haramein and the Resonance Academy and his unified field physics. So there are these brilliant scientists that are kind of outside the academic and being called pseudoscientists or quacks because they're not teaching what's in the textbooks, but they're really doing their best. And they're doing a great job to ascertain exactly how the universe functions, how with Nassim and his understanding of the proton being this reflection of, all the entire, we really, this is not our place to start to teach and explain their science, but they do merge the consciousness that is evolving right now that we're embodying, like in my work, in a very scientific way, so that we can start to do it in a way that's not just all woohoo, metaphysical, intuitive. There is actually a science behind all of this also, and it is coming forth at this time.
Right. Well, science and spirituality should have never been separated. Same with love and sexuality, and all these dualities and distortions have been incredibly harmful. And I feel that sets up a terrain that is very hospitable to entities and archons. And if we could just, kind of work on that within ourselves.
Yep.
To me, I mean, how can science and spirituality be, so separate? I'm blown away at just all the different agendas, and
I'm just
we're being cornered to the point where we can only, real quick, learn to just fall back on ourselves. But go ahead. Sorry.
And of course, this whole science and spirituality has been being addressed actually for quite a while. 𝗤𝗂𝗏 wrote the Tao of Physics. What was that? In the late 70s, early 80s.
That should be like more in the curriculum, right?
Yeah, he very much is, but he's starting to bring forth. He was like saying how Eastern religions are saying the same thing that Western science, that's from a while ago. And 𝗤𝗂𝗏𝗏, the dancing Wooly master, what was it called? I can't. Oh my God, the Dancing Wooly Masters, I think. It was another one that integrates science and spirituality. So, we've been doing this, and I'm just kind of surprised how slow it's going and how much, we're still locked into the same mindset. I mean, whatever happened to December 21st, 2012, right? But it's happening little by little, and that's why we're having this conversation today, to help, more and more people are waking up to the control paradigm, wanting to know what they can do then to, help create this new earth. And so, in the big scheme of things, it is moving ahead. The tide is turning, and,
Well, it better and better. And it's people like you that are the tide turners. And I have to just say about the science and spirituality, a lot of people say certain things like astrology, for example, is demonic, or tarot, or obtaining self-knowledge is like evil, even though the archetypes do show up for our ability to understand those particular archetypes or planetary energies. And this is why I love medical astrology, because I'm not really into predictive astrology, but it's like understanding patternings and the ones that create kind of blockages, right? So when I hear what you are saying and the architecture and this and that, it's taking the most favorable, patternings in order to break the most limiting ones. And it's so genius and masterful to be able to put that in a living structure. So I just had to say that.
In some ways, I was just thinking this.
You brought up, I memorized it in high school. Sorry, go ahead.
Wow, that's cool. So, we're kind of talking about science, which is kind of like opposite of a lot of this you know, the new age thinking and stuff and how it's integrating. And I'd like to then segue, you know, we lost Z at the beginning, but she'll be back with you next week. You know, one of the first things that she says is she remembers being a seventh dimensional geneticist, like a scientist. And, you know, she's integrating that into her human form now, for over 8 years, I believe, where she woke up and she works really, really, really hard to first integrate it in herself. And now that's what she's teaching for other people. And as much as my work is focused outward to build these environments, the real key that's taking place right now is for everyone to do the inner work and the inner healing. And there is a science to that too, in a way, you know, that, and I just love, that's what I love, Z, when we reconnected, you know, when we connected, I say reconnected because, you know, I guess we both came from Andromeda. And then when she finally showed up, I was like, oh my God. And, you know, actually she, Portal to the New Earth, the name came from hosting an event here in Joshua Tree at an amazing, magical, off-grid community way out in the boulders called Boulder Gardens. I started hosting it in 2014 in collaboration with Garth, who owns it, and we came up with the name. We sat down like, what should we call this? I want my event to embody the spirit of what you're doing here on your property, which is very, you know, sacred and beautiful. He hasn't ever pulled a permit. They live very much in harmony. He calls it heaven on earth there. And I said, we've got to bring people here to experience your place and to help benefit. And we came up with the name Portal to the New Earth. So I started hosting it in 2014. And in 2019, I was putting on the last one that I put on. It was the finale. I'm not going to do them anymore. And I learned about Z through one of her interviews online with Lauren Gailey, Quantum Conversations, which she was doing a number of them throughout 2018, 2019. I contacted her and I said, would you like to present at Portal to the New Earth? And she replied that Portal to the New Earth is the favorite event she ever went to. She came to one in 2016. She knew who I was. She knew the place. She knew what the event was about. And she was, yes, I absolutely would love to be there. So she came and she helped with the opening ceremony. She did her featured presentation and a closing ceremony. And after the closing ceremony, she did this incredible midnight sound healing on Sunday night with this other sound healer, 𝗏𝗡𝗏. And it's really interesting because she's actually written a book. She'll probably promote that in her talk, but it's called I Am Starseed. And there's a chapter in the book devoted to explaining this whole story about how she came and to present and be part of Portal to the New Earth. In some ways, that was her graduation party of her fully coming into her power to be a teacher and be featured as the main person that's running these things. And since then, she has been convening all kinds of retreats and workshops. And she is next level, and her work is very, like I say, it's scientific, you could almost say, but it's metaphysical, and it's teaching us, you know, how to heal, how to embody, and it's so much healing that we have to go through to, you know, we live on a traumatized planet, a traumatized culture. And as you know, that's your work. That's what you've been doing, Laura, constantly. I love you, especially with your light to darkness, which is a whole different thing than what we're talking about today, but it's not, because it all boils down to that essence, right?
Right, right. Well, my focus is definitely like the alchemical aspect of creation and how the elements correspond with our DNA. And the planetary alignments in this particular window period are opening us up to be able to transmute and heal on a level that we haven't been able to for quite some time. But of course, that's why the targeting and the narratives and the BS has increased. And it's incredibly frustrating. I thought I'd be able to handle it a little bit better, knowing that these dark agendas existed. And it's frustrating, and I snap myself out of it if I sink into like feeling a certain level of defeat, or I didn't do enough, and if I just did this or that, and it's just like, you know what, just stop. But anyway, but yeah, alchemy, I mean, turning something into a completely different substance. I mean, nature shows us that. And so when people call it like woo-woo, it's like, have you not observed nature? You know, nature does it all the time. I mean, a caterpillar that was just going like this is all of a sudden got wings and flying. I mean, and it sounds so cliche, but it's a mirror. I mean, it's miraculous. And we are multifaceted, multidimensional beings that are so much more connected to Mother Earth than we can imagine. And she knows exactly what we need and how to guide us. And I can't believe people are listening to these, you know, these people I won't even name. I just can't even believe it.
But you know, I want to
Really heartbreaking right now, actually.
But you know, that brings up something that I'd like to try to focus. You just use the word nature, and you know, we talk about so many other things out there going on, but you know, just like Anastasia, Ringing Cedars of Russia, she doesn't talk about any other extraterrestrials, anything else, just to look at nature. And like in my visions of these future environments, we want our cities and our inhabitants to be as natural and just part of the way all of nature grows, and also just in ourselves, to heal ourselves. You know, there's this, nature knows how to heal. You know, we're being threatened by some, you know, disease, but we know that we have our immunity. We know we have healing. Nature has its most brilliant evolutionary intelligence imbued directly in it. And you don't need to, you know, be focusing on extraterrestrials or controllers or this or that. We can go to the source. And you said Mother Gaia, Mother Earth. If all you do is just focus on, you know, the incredible genius of nature, the way a seed can grow anything, a rose bush and apple trees, anything, and then Earth itself, just tune into this. You know, the Earth is awakening as we awaken, and it's there to help in our healing. And it's as simple as that. It doesn't have to be complicated. We don't have to, you know, battle anything. We just have to align with our nature, and that's what our DNA is. It's how nature operates in the most perfect, incredible technology, and it's just awakening to that and embodying that. It's right there. It's as simple.
So beautifully put. And yeah, I mean, the planetary grid network corresponds with our energy meridians and DNA and chakra system, and our galactic chakras are connected to the multidimensional cosmos. And that's why I call like my thing Cosmic Gaia, because it's not just, I mean, we're on a multidimensional planet. And it's incredible. Like the cetaceans and dolphins, I mean, they have a connection and are like manifestations of the guardian founder races, and all the ET stuff. I see it in nature. It's like, okay, you know, we want to acknowledge our galactic heritage and other beings and races. Of course, that should have always been in our early education. But I mean, just looking at the different sea creatures and lobster, I mean, like we're surrounded by the most unbelievable forms that, to me, it's the most exciting thing. And one of my favorite things to do is watch nature shows and go to sleep to them. Like David Attenborough, I don't know, like something's not right with
you. Said, you know, you said Cosmic Gaia, and that made me think of Z though, because her name is Earth Star. Cosmic Star, Gaia,
Absolutely.
Earth,
yes.
You know, it's this integration. And another thing, you know, with this whole idea of like, you know, I've been fascinated with rockets and going to the moon, which you know, did happen, as much as people don't. There's a lot of information. It's one of those psyops, you know, to get us all confused as to what's going on. But if you want to research it, it's pretty amazing that they did build the Apollo and land on the moon. There are maybe some other things going on that we don't know about, but that was real. But as far as going to other planets or traveling in space, I love Buckminster Fuller wrote a book in 1969, Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth. Earth is in space. We are on a spaceship. We are so far out in space. You know, like Z and I both came from Andromeda. Earth is really, really far away. It's in deep space. We are on a spaceship. We are in space. We don't need to build rocket ships and go to Mars or other planets. We're on one of the most amazing planets that's way out in the middle of space. This amazing 3D, beautiful planet. And, you know, like I mentioned, anyway, there's this idea that, you know, we are the embodiment in our DNA of all of these other extraterrestrial races. And so just, and there's kind of a beauty in that we are kind of cut off. There is a veil that it isn't part of our mainstream consciousness. So we're grappling with this, you know, interstellar ET war within each of our bodies and on our planet without even knowing that's what it is. And, you know, some of us are waking up to that, but if you don't, you know, we just deal with the fact that we have we're a human here on Earth at this time. But it is kind of interesting because, you know, more and more people, once this information gets out, to be like, oh, wait a second, what does it mean to be a human here on Earth? Oh, our DNA is a combination of 22 interstellar races that have been like having interstellar wars for eons. And now we're here on Earth embodying it, trying to sort it all out and find some balance and reconciliation with it all. to go to the next level, right? So that's,
I swear, there's so much connection between the stuff that we love to communicate. I mean, we win the war within. And the battle with the reptilians is really a battle with our own negative ego constructs, because that's what they feed on. That is what creates attachments. When we begin to move beyond that and move through the veil, through going through the dark night of the soul and a greater process, we move into something truly extraordinary, and we heal the galactic wars and also the weird dynamics that exist in the pantheons, because we have all those archetypes, and we can only reconcile those different forces within ourselves to then put out a frequency that is going to help the collective be inspired to maybe do the same. And it's really cool talking to you. It's really refreshing, because it's like we speak the same language. So I know I do, I'm the interviewer, but I love to, have a conversation as well, because I'm so passionate about these subjects, and I'm not a journalist. So I appreciate you being cool with me sharing, and whoever is listening. Sometimes people write comments like, why don't you shut up and let your, but it's like, I can't help it. Sorry. Like, I'm not but yeah. And yeah, like you said, looking outside of ourselves, or even calling it ET, unwinding all this, unlocking it, and upgrading opens our field of perception up to the most unbelievable magic. And nature is everything. I mean, I'm glad I had the background I did. I was got certified in wilderness expedition leadership, and I got multiple certifications and even degrees, and all sorts of training to be able to lead people in like 30 below to 110 degrees in the desert. But I knew it was like a different kind of training to just understand nature in a much more intimate way. And I thrived. And it really helped me to recover from the stigmas of, having the worst attendance in high school and having like terrible grades. But so it's really cool. Man,
I like
if I knew you in those years.
One of the things you just said, though, and a lot of people talk about it, I just figured, we're getting, we got a really good conversation. We could go on probably forever and ever, but it's nice to keep things concise so people can just get the information they need to hear. And you said something about, holding the frequency, that's what we're trying to do here, in healing ourselves. And once, we all are, vibrating at this higher frequency, this higher consciousness, or shining the light in our hearts. One of the favorite things I heard early on in the lockdown is, that you're not going to go and try to have a rational conversation with someone to try to convince them of a lot of this information. They're just going to say, you're a conspiracy theory crackpot. You got to trust science. And, and it's just going to get into a heated argument and not be very pretty. So just go within, shine a light in your heart, know the truth that you know in your heart, raise your vibration, raise your frequency. Those are the steps we need to do. And, once more and more of the collective does it. And, with these ideas I have for like these future eco villages, eco cities, people will say, don't you know that none of these things never succeed because everyone's always fighting about it and no one can agree. And it's like, yeah, there is a lot of problems in like doing communities and things like that in our current paradigm. And it's not like I want to go and try to struggle and start one and get everyone to agree. My vision is this is just going to be the new normal. This is just going to be the way that we all humans live because we've awakened to this frequency. Right now, if you try to get a building permit to build any of this, our government, our political environment, our social environment is going to be like, you can't do that. There's so many limiting factors right now that we're locked into. And then a lot of people are like, well, it's not going to happen for like 1,000 years. We're not going to change the way we are. But I kind of feel, it's like a scale, like it's like this, and it's just going to take one little bit and we're going to tip the scale. And it could be in a very short amount of time that, we overcome this negative agenda and awaken to this portal to the new earth and build it and live in it and inhabit it all together. And I've had my hopes up for my whole life for this, and we're still plugging away. So
I swear,
totally. Course, when we did our last interview, and tons of people did reach out to me, and I made some really great connections. So anyone seeing this one too, I'm always open. Like my video at the beginning of this, it said open to collaboration, open to connecting, because through these connections and collaborations is a synergetic combination. Synergy meaning you can't predict the whole by the parts. Things arise when things start to come together, and we're really on the verge of this taking place.
Oh, so brilliantly put. And yeah, I mean, growing up, I had these visions. I mean, your background and everything. And I remember, I collected vinyl and all the covers of the Yes albums. I'm like, yeah, after 2000, the year 2000, we're going to be in these floating sea. And it's just like, we're arguing about the Land O'Lakes lady on a butter and Aunt Jemima. Okay. Thank God for memes, right? Thank God for laughter, because it's, but the thing is, I mean, even though that might exist, that's just what it is. It doesn't need, we're not at the mercy of what other people are deciding. We're co-creating this reality, and those visions that you had, you're making real. Because my thing is to say to people, if you're frustrated and you see that something's not happening, maybe you're the one that's meant to do it. Right?
That's right. So anyone listening to this, don't wait for someone else to come along and do it. You're the one that's meant to do it. And, and connecting with others too. But, it's really true. That's how the world works. Don't underestimate your own individual power as, a divine sovereign creator being. That they kind of want you to. We're not going to go too much more into the they. Laura talks a lot about who they are. We're just going to talk about that you don't need to be locked down by them. Wake into your ability, your creative powers and all. And, we could start to, not just dream this, but really make it reality for all
Absolutely.
of us to share this, beautiful Gaia. And from a scientific point of view, like how can we fix all the degradation? We are moving into ways that I do see that the earth and the waters and things can be healed. You could almost maybe say magically, magic is real, and we can transform the earth much quicker and much easier. This whole, like the whole climate change and carbon and this and that, that's really locked into the 3D control mindset. It's not a good idea to be fearful of that and think about it that way. We have to trust in nature, trust in nature's ability to heal, quickly and easily. It really goes beyond this, very 3D, scientific mechanistic mindset. There's a lot of truth to that. We've had great benefits from looking at the world in that way. I'm not going to discount it, but it's not the end all. And yeah.
But yes, I'm so glad you brought that up, because Mother Earth is not a victim. That victim consciousness to me is the most deadly thing. And to me, that is the true toxicity, is just we're victims and Mother Earth is a victim, and we're all at fault for what we've done to her. And it's like, there's something hidden behind all of this that has created this sort of scenario, the problem, reaction, solution sort of deal where, I mean, come on, the weather weapons, geoengineering, there's all sorts of things, and we're born into this, but we're here to change it in an empowered way. And I just don't know why people are listening to, I mean, I don't want to describe them because I'll drop an F-bomb, and I'm trying to be careful here.
No, but their mind control is the most power. It's been developed for millions of years. It's not just something that they developed here, in the last, 50 years as part of the New World Order. Oh, I shouldn't have said that word, huh? Anyway, it's a non-human agenda that, this is like the war of heaven and hell. This is the war of the angels. We're just embodying it here and now. But goes back, and that's why it's, seems quite difficult, and that there are a lot of people still under the veil, under the spell, and, believing that that is the actual paradigm. And, for them, it's true. You can't say, no, that's not true. It's like we live in a paradoxical world of, integrated multiple truths, but there is one ultimate truth, and that is, our divine sovereignty. And you go all the way to the source. You can then start to discern through these other layers of maybe not so true truths of realities, right?
And embodying, like being ourselves, giving ourselves permission to fully be ourselves, even if it means we get angry at times or depressed or sad. I mean, we have to embrace the fullness of all that we are, because when we live in our truth, we can see through the lies and deceptions. And that's why some of the new age deceptions make it very difficult to give oneself permission to just be human, to keep it real, to just process in whatever way we feel we need to process. As long as we have integrity and we're not harming others, why are we sitting here poking at each other for something that's very personal and sacred to our growth and development. I don't know, you know what I mean? And I know we could totally talk forever, and something else was coming through with what you were saying. But anything that we haven't discussed?
You know, like you said, this could go on and on, but no, I think we really touched on a lot of good points. So I'm so grateful we had this time together. I think we're just around an hour, a little over. That's a good amount of time frame. You know, whenever I look at videos that I want to see, you don't want to click on a video, oh my God, it's 2 hours long. An hour is perfect. So whoever's watching it live, whoever's going to come back to this replay, thank you so much. You know, we're trying to just share, you know, in words, what it's going to take to create this new earth. And, you know, I'm sure you saw, you know, I presented all that, but I'll just hold it up. We want to heal the timelines. So, you know, check out Portal to the New Earth. There'll be a link to get these, and also the upcoming book, which will be available as an ebook and a nice hardcover soon. So, you know, obviously people might be watching this video when the book is already out, which I'm really looking forward to in the future. But this is wonderful that, you know, of course, you know, just we keep chipping away at it, sharing this knowledge, this information, our perspectives, and you know, to help with this evolution that's taking place at this time.
Oh, totally. And we'll do more of these, especially when all that comes out. I look forward to talking with you again. And, you know, the Earth responds to us. We are the Earth. We are the multidimensional cosmos. Let's get it straight. Let's figure it out here. And then you might download some of the genius that Harlan has been able to throughout his life. It's beyond the word gratitude. So grateful for you, Harlan, and all that you do. And really grateful for your friendship, and really enjoy this conversation. And thanks everybody for tuning in. And we'll, put all those links in the description.
If you can add them, hopefully we didn't do it before we launched, but hopefully you can add it in the info. And if not, I can also just put it in the comments links too, I suppose. But we'll get.
Yeah, I can pin any comment. Just send me whatever, and I'll stick it right in there.
Make it easy for you to find out more of this, what we've been talking about. So thanks again, Laura. And until next time, this was awesome to be here today. I'm really grateful.
Yes, me too. All right, take care.